welcome back to Slaying the Craft, the show where we go inside the mind of a thriller writer. I am your host, Sabrina Thatcher, author, book coach, and most of all, fanatic of the genre. I am very excited to introduce my guest today. I had the pleasure of meeting her a couple of years ago at Thriller Fest, and it's been so exciting to watch her journey from here. So let me introduce you to Elizabeth Urso. Did I say that yet, right?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Is a Canadian author of genre-blending suspense novels. If you enjoy atmospheric settings, haunted people, and unsolved crimes, you're in the right place. Her debut novel, Hail Mary, publishes on September 22nd of this year with Rising Action Publishing, who's distributed by Simon & Schuster. Elizabeth is a graduate of Laurentian
Laurentian.
Laurentian University, the University of New Brunswick Faculty of Law, and Humber School of Writers. Born and raised in Sudbury, Ontario, she now lives wherever her partner, an infantry officer in the Canadian Armed Forces, is posted, along with their dog Harriet the Spy. Very excited to talk to you. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting.
Yay! I'm so pleased to be able to watch this journey kind of unfold with you, where we were kind of like in that same spot, like you're writing, learning how to write, trying to get an agent, going through the Thriller Fest, doing all the publishing, and like here you are now, and it's just incredible. So it's super, super
Thank
exciting to
you.
see. So before you tell me about Hail Mary, I just want to say, like, there was this little bit that I thought was really interesting. So it's for fans of Simone St. James and Jennifer McMahon. Hail Mary is a thriller about a woman returning to her small hometown and a haunted family business where generational secrets and cold cases refuse to stay buried.
Yes,
But I loved that, like, Simone St. James and Jennifer McMahon comparison, because that's totally sounds exactly right.
they are two of my favorites. And the third that I contemplated that didn't make it in because we wanted the sentence to be as short as possible was CJ Tudor. She's another one of
Okay.
my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about Hail Mary. Tell me about this book. Where I need to know all the
Yeah.
details.
Yeah, so I like to think of it as 6 Feet Under, so the TV show, meets Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. And it follows Mary Foreman. She's 34, and she is forced to return to her small hometown in Northern Ontario to help her problematic uncles navigate a scandal-plagued election. And she ends up taking a teaching job at her alma mater, a Catholic school for girls, when they are about to open up a time capsule that also has connections to her family. And when the time capsule is opened, instead of letters, there are human remains found inside. And her family's legacy, which is tied to their infamous funeral business, rears its ugly head again. And once again, the townspeople are asking, do the Formans bury the dead or do they bury the living too?
Well, I can tell you, it's very creepy, super
Thanks.
creepy. Like I mean, I don't want to give away too much, like into the creepy factors, but I will talk about the teeth because I can't not. And how like if you have a nightmare about teeth falling out, if like that's like one of your biggest fears, like this book is gonna get you so good. There's so much with teeth. It's so creepy. Where did that come from?
Well, I, just a personal note, I've had a lot of dental trauma
That
in
makes a
my
lot of sense.
life.
It makes so much sense that you're working out
Um,
on the
yeah,
page.
like just appliances of various kinds, braces, gum grafting, wisdom teeth extractions gone wrong. So that's very
Yeah.
much something that I could sort of relate to. But actually, I don't know where the teeth vis-a-vis how they connect to the plot came in.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
all I know is that the first image that I had for this book was the character that would become Mary Foreman, um, digging up a time capsule at a school she used to go to. And when she opens it up, she finds the item
The
with
item.
the teeth on it. And that was just something I couldn't get out of my head. I found it like a relatively striking image.
Yeah, it's
Um,
super creepy. There's an item
and
with teeth involved, and it's oh my god.
So that was just something I couldn't get out of my head. And I don't recommend like building an entire story around like a single image because it doesn't give you a lot to go on. But I just couldn't get it out of my head. And I thought it was very striking, very creepy, played into a lot of my fears as it relates to teeth. And so we just went from there.
Wow. It's pretty incredible. And what I like about this story is just like I feel like Simone St. James does this really well. You've got three kind of genres you're sort of mixing together with like the supernatural, the mystery kind of thriller who done it, and then there is a little bit of there's a romance that's in there too. And I really love
Yeah.
that you've been able to kind of pull all of these things together. Um and so was that your intent from the beginning that you wanted to play with all of these different genres or tropes within the same story?
No. So I guess I set out more so to write like in the mystery thriller space. That's where I feel most comfortable, I would say. Um, and all of the other elements, I'd actually never written anything with a romance before.
Mhm.
So that was new to this particular story. Um, but ultimately, I love a genre blend. They're my favorite books. I know that they're sometimes difficult sells in terms
Mhm.
of comps and things sort of sitting squarely on one shelf. But when I
Yeah.
think of my favorite authors, I mean, Simone St. James, Jennifer McMahon, CJ Tudor, I love how they combine mystery, thriller, horror, and crime fiction.
Yeah.
And again, I think, you write what it is that you want to read.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what are you hoping people connect to in Mary's story?
Well, I guess the first thing that comes to mind, which is perhaps a little bit morose to say, but Mary is returning home under very inopportune circumstances. I love the coming home trope. It's one of my favorites. And I think Mary's story came out of my own coming home journey when my dad was diagnosed with cancer in 2017. And so it's not that I want readers to connect with the grief that Mary experiences in the story. I mean, I wouldn't wish that on anyone,
Yeah.
but I hope that, if people have had that experience, that perhaps maybe they feel seen in that respect, because that would make me feel happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that you're kind of talking about that, my mom passed last year and I had moved home back to Arizona. And I like, until you just now said this about like connecting to your story, I did not connect like that trope does happen, but it happens in real life. So because it happens in books so often that I'm always like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, is it becoming cliche? But it's not because it happens. It like is legitimate.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I think that with Mary going through grief of a lot of things that she's lost and her family, and then the real tough family dynamics there with her uncles, I could see that being like it's what people have to deal with, like especially when someone passes away or somebody's really sick in the family, you start
Mm-hmm.
people start coming out and have opinions on things, and there's all the fun stuff.
Oh yes, you can't pick your family.
No, you can't.
And I think too, I was very fortunate in the context of my dad's illness, in the sense that um, he had pancreatic cancer, but we had him for 4.5 years after his diagnosis, which is
That's amazing. That's
practically
incredible.
unprecedented.
Yeah.
And so we got to have a lot of really good discussions as a family and really work through that together. I've always had a very positive relationship with my parents and my family. So I say that more so as a disclaimer to don't think that anything about the Foreman family comes from personal experience. That's not it at all. Um, but all that to say, just even the best of situations like that, they are tough
Yeah.
in terms of family dynamics, and I hope that I captured that well.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I have a lot of empathy for what Mary is going through and like how she's trying to position herself in the family, and there's a whole even idea in this book, and I'm going to say it wrong, so I'm going to ask you to say it, but not patriarchy and not matriarchy, but
Ma-
matrilineal?
yeah, matrilineal.
Matrilineal. I was like, that's a word I've never heard before. But basically, like that, there are things that are like it's passed down through the women, but the men get all the power, but women, it's such an interesting dynamic. And then where she is placed as like, she is in a submissive position because her uncles are older. Like it just
Hmm.
is, you just have that dynamic. And then she's
Yeah.
having to deal with all this. And but yet the weight of everything is on her shoulders. So,
Hmm. Yeah, I really liked to play with the gender dynamics among the family. Um, and yeah, they're a very interesting, they're an interesting crew, the
yeah,
Foremans. I'm excited for people to get to meet them.
yeah. They are the disciples are quite a
Yes.
crew.
Yes, Peter, Mark, and John. I
Peter Mark.
find Mary quite she's quite, well, I hope that readers find her quite funny. Like, I'm
Yeah,
sure
she's funny.
her sense of humor is probably not for everyone, but um, there's a thing with sort of biblical Catholic names in the family, and so in sort of a tongue-in-cheek way, she refers to her uncles as the disciples, and yeah, I love that for her.
Yeah, it's amazing. So when you are writing, which comes first for you, the character or the plot? And like, and how did that work out? Well, you said you had an image here, so this one
Yes.
is character, maybe.
So I am a plot first writer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of my, I would say it's a strength, but it's also a weakness in the sense that I hope that people don't think this about the final version because that would mean that I failed. But I like to sort of think of my characters in the first draft and perhaps even the second as these sort of like little cardboard cutouts moving through life. Like they're not fully realized. It takes me a
Yeah,
long time, like a lot of drafts, to really get into the sense of who my characters are and make sure that they are moving the plot forward as much as the plot is moving them.
yeah,
And in my first drafts, it's very much plot forward. So characters tend to come later. The more I write, Hail Mary is not my most recent
mm-hmm.
project. So I've gotten better at this as I've gone on in my writing journey. But for this book specifically, it was very much plot first, and a lot of the character work came later.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's really interesting to hear that because I definitely I would have thought, well, like with your image you were saying, it was definitely like, that's a fantastic plot. Like, that's amazing. Um, but I think that in reading it, it doesn't feel like the plot is what's doing the moving. It does feel like the characters are doing the moving.
That
Um,
makes me very happy.
yeah, there's stuff that like is going on, but like in naturally around the time of somebody passing or anything like that, any kind of family thing, like there are logistics you have to go through and stuff. So that alone will help propel the plot
Yeah,
forward.
yeah.
So,
And but actually it's funny how this book sort of came about in terms of your question, was it plot first or character first? And without spoiling anything, what I will say is that again, Hail Mary was not the first book that I wrote.
mhm.
Um, but the book I had written immediately before, which is actually the book that's coming out for me next year.
Okay.
Um, that was sort of a book that was, very much still alive for me. It was on submission at the time. And I just hadn't really let those characters and that setting go. And so I had again this idea for this woman. She was, back at the school she went to. There's this time capsule, chaos ensues. And one of the earliest chapters I wrote is very early in the book, so it's not a spoiler, where Mary is waking up with this man that she's taken home. She regrets bringing him back to her family's haunted ancestral home. And he introduces himself to her because she's forgotten his name for the
Our
fifth
guy.
time. Bar guy.
Our guy.
And so I'm writing their dialogue, and again, it's a draft, so it's very rough. And he introduced himself to Mary as Tom Pearson. And what was interesting about that was it was as much an introduction to Mary as it was to me, because I know Tom very well. Tom was one of the main characters in the book that was out on submission at the time.
Oh, okay, okay.
And I was like, that's weird because I didn't know, again, who these people were. I didn't know where they were. All I knew was this sort of image that I was writing towards. And so when he introduced himself, I sort of had a pause and I said, well, this is one of two things. It's either complete and utter laziness on my part, or it's some sort of creative intervention. Knowing me, like, it was laziness, 100%. But I like to think of it now that everything sort of happened the way that it did as sort of, creative intervention. And so once he did that, again, I'm speaking about him as if he's a real person, but like
Yeah.
once Tom did that, I knew what time they were in, like what year it would have to be. I knew where they were. I knew Tom's backstory because I'd already written it. And sort of everything came into play at that point. And actually, until Tom introduced himself to Mary, I didn't really even know Mary's last name, but I knew that I had written this kind of crazy funeral family in the
Hmm.
first. And I was like, oh, like this is all coming together. So
Yeah.
again, it's 100% laziness, but I'm glad it all worked out.
See, I'm going to argue with you. I don't think that's lazy. I think what happens is that our brains, like, they connect something. There's a connection that's there, and maybe this is maybe the story you started out with for the funeral family, or with Tom or whatever, wasn't where you had pictured, but he was there for a reason, and he works really well in the story. And for you, he was the key to unlock, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
don't think any work that you do is ever wasted. And it's funny that you're saying that, because what I'm working on right now is so different from anything else that I've ever worked on before. But I do have like a police character that, and I was like, I immediately go to these other characters that I've written that don't have anything, like they're not related to the story at all, but they show up there. Or like I have a podcaster from like another thing. So I think that it's not bad to be like, okay, well, I've used these characters in the past. They're already fleshed out as people. Then it makes sense that they would come into here. And
Mm-hmm.
especially I think in a debut slash learning capacity, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna go to, I've got this person, I got this already. This steps in, and it makes sense that you're learning all of this stuff before you can actually apply it.
Yeah. And it might not have worked, right? Like it could have just been the sense where I was like, oh, I put him there. Like,
Yeah.
actually, that doesn't work. We
Yeah.
need someone else. We need another temporary cardboard cutout
Yes.
until Elizabeth gets her life together. But yeah, it worked out, and I really love them together. And um, like I know where I see them, even, like 5-10 years after. So
Yeah.
if I ever get to write another book in North Shore Township, then there we go. We've got
Oh
it
my gosh.
already.
I think that has to happen.
I hope so.
Well, that actually goes to my next question: is this planned to be a series?
So I would love for it to be a series, in the sense that I love the kind of like worlds that I created.
Yeah, the North Shore,
Um,
like that whole, that's really
yeah,
awesome. I love the town. I love the people.
yeah. And actually the map that's behind me is the actual North Shore of Lake Huron. So like that's
Ooh.
the actual
Yeah.
geography that I stole. Um, but yeah, I mean, I love these characters, and I enjoy. Yeah, I it would be really fun to kind of write more in the same quote unquote universe.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that would be the dream.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna manifest this for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, so what was the most fun part for you to write and the most challenging?
So I would say that it's the same thing.
Okay.
And again, not to spoil anything, but the book is actually dual point of view and dual timeline. So
Yeah.
in the back cover copy, I don't talk about the other character. Um,
Who
but
I will just say where I'm at, she's shown up one time and has been by far my favorite. Like, and I was like, I
she's
want to get, when am
so
I going to get back to?
fun.
And I
She's
have an
so fun.
idea. I have a theory that is going on about
Mm,
who that point of view is in comparison to the real timeline or to the current
yes.
timeline. I have a theory right now. I will run this
Mm,
by you after we are done.
amazing. But yeah, so she was a very interesting character. And again, I wrote this book in 2021, 2022. So it's been a while.
Mhm.
And I'm actually kind of happy that it's coming out later in the sense that I've had time to really unpack what it was that I was doing or like what it was that I was working through at the time. And I didn't really know where the other character was coming from. What I will say about her is she's just full of rage. Like she's kind of unhinged. I really enjoy her.
She's
But
very dynamic.
yes, she's fun. And I think too, at the time, I didn't really know why I was drawn to, write a kind of I mean, she's a sociopath, like
She is.
she is, like, let's just call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
Um,
Very
and
calculating. Very
she's very
calculating.
calculating and she's really, really angry. And this is something that, I've had the opportunity to unpack a lot in therapy, but I didn't realize how much of my grief journey was actually an anger journey,
Mm.
if that makes
Hmm.
sense,
Yeah.
in the context that I think it was very clear to me that with Mary, I was like working through the grief of, losing a parental figure
Hmm.
to an illness. But with this other character, I was putting an anger that I didn't really know what to do with,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I think looking back on it, I look back on it very fondly. And I think I had a lot of fun with that because it was very cathartic, but it wasn't a catharsis that I was really aware of at the
Yeah.
time. Like I was doing it kind of subconsciously. But it was also quite difficult, I think, because I had to lean into a feeling and an emotion that made me very uncomfortable
Right.
in sort of just an anger that was so intense that it was basically just like rage.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I really like her. She's
I like her
fun.
too. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. I feel like when she showed up, I was like, oh, okay, okay. Things are starting to make some sense. Starting to get the idea where things are coming from. But yeah, so it was so great. Okay, so kind of transitioning a little bit into talking about the craft itself. First of all, I ask everybody, why do you write the dark and twisted? Like, why are you not trying to write the next, contemporary fiction New York
I
Times
am
bestseller?
just very drawn to this sort of stuff. I mean, I always have. Um, I grew up watching, Murder She Wrote with my mom. That was like
Yeah,
her comfort show for some strange reason.
love it.
So
Because
we
it's
were
so
indoctrinated
comforting
very
in
young.
the deadliest place in the world, but it is so comforting. It's so cute.
Uh, yeah, and so I've always really enjoyed crime fiction, and yeah, as I grew up, horror even more so. I don't know, I find it so interesting. It's such an interesting way to explore kind of the human condition, and I love reading positive, light things, but they've never been something that I've been able to write. I don't know what that says about me. Um,
Like,
and
I
I think
can't. I
too,
mean, there's happy stuff. What the hell?
like,
No, what
I'm
I
not
think
into
it is,
it.
it's the ongoing thing. We always hear about it, right? Like people who are in the mystery thriller or horror, they're like the best people because they put all the darkness on the page. But that's probably you can't do the good stuff because you're such a good person. Like you're so so
Dang.
friendly and so happy and sunshiny. Like of course you got to
I
work out
mean,
your
like,
dark
I don't
stuff
know if the
elsewhere.
viewers can see it, but look at my yellow
You're
sweater.
so sunshiny.
It's like sunshine.
But I understand that too. Like I actually get that. Every time I've tried to write like a little, even like a short story or like a flash fiction or something, it's like there ends up being a murder or a death or a crime. I'm like I can't do anything happy.
No, no, I can't. It's not in my repertoire.
Yeah. So, in your experience, now that you've written this book that's like this really wonderful genre mashup, um, where do you like what part of it do you think that you want to like dive in deeper into? Are you going to be like more? is your next work, you're looking at more horror, you're looking more crime fiction, or is it still like this kind of mashup? And what are the differences that you have found in writing horror versus crime fiction?
So the next book for me that comes out, which I guess you can conceptualize as sort of a prequel to Hail
Okay.
Mary. So they're interconnected standalones, but it's certainly more heavy on the crime fiction. It's
Okay.
more of a procedural than perhaps this one is. And that I think is where I feel most at home. Um, but that said, one of the more recent books that I've written was much more horror
Mm,
than either of these two. And so I think that's more so the direction that I see myself going into, just because I've found a real love for it.
yeah.
It's something that I'm reading a lot more of too at the moment. Um, yeah, and again, I don't want to tie myself to any particular
Yeah.
genre in the sense that I'm very comfortable in this sort of, again, genre blending space, and I'd like to find a readership that likes sort of those, I guess, four things like
Yeah.
crime, mystery, thriller, horror, and then we can just kind of play around
Yeah.
within that
And like lean
sandbox, you
different
know?
directions, like with
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'll certainly never be, pumping out like a rom-com. I wish I could. Again, I'm just
Yeah.
not that positive. But yeah, those are kind of the places that I would like to kind of stay within. And that's my fun little sandbox.
Yeah.
And yeah, and again, just kind of playing around in the corner that suits me at that time in my life.
That makes sense. How is your experience writing horror versus thriller? Like, what are you thinking of as you're writing the two that make them different in your experience?
It's interesting. Well, actually, I wouldn't have probably been able to answer this question well until I listened to a recent episode of yours. I'm blanking on her name. She is behind Thriller Fest. Please
Oh,
help me.
Samantha Skull.
Yes. And so she said that crazy line that you quoted, and I was like, oh my God, this is insane. Where she said something to the effect of a thriller is your villain's origin story through the
Oh,
eyes of your
yes.
protagonist.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Your thriller is your villain's story as told by the protagonist, which
And
is
I was like,
amazing. She's
I
so
was
like
unwell.
she's brilliant. Oh my God, she's so brilliant.
Yeah. And so that to me is not horror always.
Yeah.
Like, do you
Mhm.
know what I mean?
Well, because you're not
Um,
really telling, well, let's say in the we'll take this story, but from the supernatural perspective, like there's not really telling it from the ghosts, like Mrs. Morris point of view, right?
yes.
Like,
And so I think that like that's something again that I find really interesting about the two, but I don't know, like horror just scratches this very strange itch for me. Like I really like I just like to kind of go there. It's
yeah.
insane, but I love it.
I wonder, do you feel that it gives you some more, like a little bit license for more freedom? Crime fiction,
Yeah.
typically we're in the real world, right?
Yes.
Where with horror you can be in the real world, but there's a supernatural element, or there's a paranormal thing, or there's another thing, or there's
Yes.
another human that's being terrible, right? Like, but it's a different kind of world. Is that, do you
Yeah.
feel like it gives you more freedom?
Yeah. And I think that that's one of the reasons why I tend to have sort of like a supernatural element, even when I have more of a grounded um, story that falls more towards the mystery or crime fiction space. Just because I like to play, like in the sense that people are already suspending disbelief because, like, oh yeah, there's a ghost. So like maybe you can play around with other
I'm
things
like
too.
other crazy stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And that's the thing too, like with respect to Hail Mary as well, like there are some procedural elements, but the timeline of the book did not lend itself to like very accurate criminal procedure.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So like
absolutely.
I know that things probably would not occur that fast, but
Right.
here we are.
We're here. We're in
We're
fiction.
here.
We're like, you gotta just do things. It's gotta
Yeah.
go. Yes. Yeah. No, that's hilarious. It is funny that you're saying that. It's like I'm like kind of in the middle. They just identified who, like, what the skeleton was that was in the time capsule, or like, or
Hmm.
they identified some things around that. Um, and it was pretty quick. I think it was like 2 days after it opened. So you're right.
And it's one of those things too, again, where it's like, I mean, we can't wait for an investigation, and then we can't, in terms of the criminal procedure stuff, like, would they motion for a venue change? 1,000% they would, but we don't have time for that. Like, do you know
Well,
what I
so
mean?
this is funny because I think the other component here is that you're an attorney for your day job.
Yes.
So there's like a level of like knowledge where you're like, no, no, no.
No, no.
That only
And
people in the industry even know like what is the chaos and
yeah.
the times and everything.
And it's one of those things too where, like, it's not that I'm advocating for, you know, making it just completely outside the realm of believability. But at the same time, that's like, if you want to go to law school because you really liked watching Suits, you
You
should
are wrong.
reevaluate. Like,
Don't go to law school.
because you're going down the wrong path, my friend. You know what I mean? So I'm like, if we can just all appreciate that we're trying to be accurate, we're trying to bring some structure, but again, there are ghosts.
So reality's already shifted. It's already
So it's
shifted.
just like, so play around, like, it's all good. We're all just trying to have fun.
Yeah. So I think something that's really interesting is you've had a very different kind of path to publishing than you typically hear. Typically you hear either self-published or you hear trad published with an agent. So you want to talk about a little bit of your experience of getting to where you are to your path to publishing?
Yeah, so I was previously agented, and I parted ways amicably with my agent. We worked together for, I think, just over 4 years.
Hmm.
So I was on submission with two separate projects and worked on other manuscripts with her. And I just decided to try something different, in the sense that it was very important for me to publish in Canada, and to have my book available on Canadian shelves. That was sort of my dream. And I don't say that to alienate a US readership.
Oh, what?
But
What? Can you not dream about the US? I mean, there's nowhere else to be in this
I
entire
know.
world.
I know. So I because that was sort of my goal, and
Yeah.
also because again, as you mentioned, I have this other full-time job that, I'm very happy with. I do see that as sort of my primary career in terms of how I make a living. But I do treat writing as seriously as a career from a craft perspective. I just know for myself personally, I can't put that much pressure on it. Like, it can't be the thing that stands between me and homelessness, or else it will never occur.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. Yeah.
I will never write again.
Yeah.
And I think too, what I found about myself and sort of my own tendencies is that I started writing what I thought would be acquired, as opposed to what I actually wanted to
Mm,
write.
yeah.
And so I needed a little bit of a factory reset. So again, I parted ways with my agent, I reevaluated, and then this opportunity came to publish a story that I was really passionate about, with a small Canadian press,
Hmm.
with, again, distribution through Simon and Schuster. And so I'm really happy with that decision. I feel like it's given me the things that I wanted to sort of get out of this,
Hmm.
with a lot of still, like, not losing any part of me in the process.
Yeah.
And just doing it on a scale that felt really manageable for me. And again, because I knew what I wanted this to be, and this was it. And I was able to do that on my own. I think it's also been a really helpful, way to develop sort of my self advocacy skills.
Hmm.
And I don't mean in the sense that I've had to advocate for anything, like, unreasonable, but just to be aware of sort of what are the things that you want from your career, and to make sure that you stay on that same path. And that's been really fulfilling, and really also kind of healing as like a people pleaser,
Yeah.
you know?
You're like, no, I'm doing what I want. And it turns out by doing the work that you want, that you feel passionate about, that drives you, that on your timeline, whatever, if that's what's going to bring you joy, because it should be bringing you joy. And
Hmm.
then, you're probably writing better stories. I bet that's probably the case, right? Like,
Yeah.
you just feel like you're
Yeah.
writing better stories because it's more authentic to you.
Hmm. Yeah, so I'm really happy, and yeah, if anyone has like any questions about my path to publication, they're welcome to reach out, and I
Yeah.
always like to hear from people. But yeah, I'm really pleased with sort of where I've landed. It did take a long time to sort of get there. And again, I wouldn't say that the years I spent agented were wasted, like not at all.
Yeah.
I wrote a lot, I learned a lot, mostly about myself. And that's a really positive thing.
Yeah, I would agree. Most definitely. So we'll move into the section that I like to call rapid fire questions, which means like just answer at your own speed. um, okay. So these are the questions I ask all of our guests. Number one, what is on your writing desk?
Okay. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So I have a Godzilla.
Oh my god, you love Godzilla.
I do. I do. So I love him because he's just kind of like spewing out his nuclear waste.
I love
And
it.
so when things get really hard, we spew out together. Me and this little
Yeah.
guy. But yeah, I do. I love Godzilla. I love. I love.
Every
I'm
version of Godzilla.
obsessed. Hmm.
Okay. What ritual, if any, do you have before or after you write?
I would say before, I just need to have coffee. I need to have coffee. If it's before 10 a.m., which that would be strange because that means I would have to get up very early before work to do this, and that's just not how it usually happens. So it's typically iced. I don't
Okay.
know. Are you a coffee drinker? I should know this about you. Okay.
Yes, very much.
Do you also feel like there's just some intense mental distinction between a hot coffee and a cold coffee? Like they might as well be different beverages to me.
Oh yeah, no, they are completely different because
Yeah.
the hot coffee, especially in the morning, that is ritual. That
Hmm.
is like the warmth. There's just something that's to it, and it definitely like it's so comforting. And then cold coffee is like fun. It's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just a very, so typically it's cold. Typically it's
yeah.
cold. But I'm very particular with my ice.
Me too.
Okay.
Okay,
Like I love a crushed ice. I'm interested in your perspective on ice as
okay.
well. But what I will say is that I will know that I have made it in this world, and we have not yet. We're not yet there. Okay, so we'll know we've made it when we have a separate appliance,
Hmm.
not a countertop ice maker. Like I'm
Okay.
talking a built-in
Yes.
device. I
Yeah.
know that Miele makes one. It's very expensive, where you can just like press a button and you get so many different kinds of ice.
Sounds incredible.
That's all I want. Like
Yes.
you check in with me in like 5 years. You can have me
Cannot wait.
back on the pod,
Yes.
and
We'll
it'd
be
be like, "Did
talking
you
about
get
your
the
ice
ice
machine.
maker?" Yeah, but back to
No,
you.
I'm with
What's your favorite
you.
ice?
So I love nugget ice,
Mm,
and I do have an ice maker that's a countertop ice maker, that has that does the nugget ice.
yeah,
But I am like a diehard. If I'm having something cold, it has to have ice in it, and if it doesn't, then I end up I don't finish it. I don't know what it
yeah.
is. Like I just don't. Um, and it's funny because I recently started dating somebody who doesn't put ice into anything that he drinks, and it drives me
Really?
insane. What?
What's his perspective on that? Like he
No,
just,
you get more of whatever the liquid is that you're drinking without the ice. And I'm like,
I,
but why would you want it if it's not cold?
yeah, no, no. I mean, we seem to be at an impasse.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny. I went to the Shadows and Secrets writing retreat that Samantha Skull and her business partner Carrie Savage put on, and it was in Salem. And it was funny because we were sitting there, and I was explaining like I have to have ice, like it's my comfort, my ice comfort, my comfort ice. And then another girl that was there, her name is Selena, she was like, but she felt the same way with butter. And so she had like a little thing of butter.
Oh my God, I'm
It's my
obsessed with
comfort butter
her.
and comfort ice.
That's so great. But there's nothing wrong with butter either. Like,
No.
just put more butter on stuff,
Yes, exactly. I'm like, you know what? If that's
Like,
what you
life
need,
is too short for margarine, okay?
exactly.
Like,
We deserve butter.
we deserve churned butter, okay? Oh my God. This might be your best
This is
tangent
it. This
on
is
the
it, the
pod.
one. Okay, so what ritual, if any, oh no, but I just asked you that. If writing multiple POV or multiple timeline, do you write straight through or do you write each section?
I write straight through.
Okay.
I am a very linear writer and linear thinker,
Hmm.
to the point where if I'm stuck, we're stuck. Like there's no working around being
Yeah.
stuck. So yeah,
Okay.
I must write straight through. And typically I would have gotten stuck in the plotting phase. Like I'm that person with the Excel spreadsheets. Like
Okay.
I draft in Excel.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
I
yeah,
recently
it's very
tried doing
linear.
that and I actually kind of liked it.
Yeah, like it's
Because you
I,
can like, I think if you're doing like I mean, obviously, I don't know how you write. You can explain that in one moment, but I think if you're doing like, hey, this happens, and even if you're writing like the scene, it's like it's still a first draft. It's like, or you know, a baby draft or whatever, because it's not actually like in prose on the thing. Or if it is in prose, um, it still makes it easier to be like, okay, so I know that this character is in A1, and then I like have it change later, and then I can go back to A1, and like it just feels different and easy in like my head. I was like, this is more organized.
yeah. I think that one of the things that I tend to do, which it tends to be a note that I get all the time on everything. Like I can't write anything and not get this note. Is you've got way too many people. Like there's just too many characters. No
Hmm.
one's doing anything. Like,
Yeah,
does this person ever come back? If they don't, why are they here? And
yeah.
so that's one of the things that I find really helpful in terms of um, doing plotting in Excel, or even if you want to get like a Bristol board or, do it on a whiteboard or whatever, is just to kind of get a sense of who are the players in your game and like what position are they playing. And
Hmm.
if you just have someone who's like on the backup line and they
Yeah,
never actually come in, like they need to go.
yeah.
They're not needed on the team. Um, so that's one of the things that I really like about that format is just to kind of see the forest for the trees before you get so in the weeds that you can't see it yourself.
Yeah, I think once you start getting to where words are on the page of whatever word processing system that you use, it just starts to become overwhelming to try
Mm-hmm.
to make those changes.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it's how tons of authors do it, but it also is like for me, I just feel like oh my god, it's like so much to try to remember and like, um, okay, what is the most bullshit piece of advice you've ever heard?
Okay. Don't edit as you go.
Okay, okay.
Now, listen, I do that. And it's not that for some people it wouldn't be okay, because
Yeah.
I think that sometimes if you fall into that trap, sometimes you'll just spend a year
Hmm.
on one chapter and it
Yeah.
it will shine.
Yeah.
But
It'll
then
be a
there's the
beautiful
rest.
chapter that lives on its own.
But I find that quite motivating, particularly because I hate drafting. Like
Hmm.
I would rather edit for eternity
Yeah.
than draft at all.
Okay.
Mostly because I hate when it's bad, and it's
It's
bad for a very long time.
it's so painful. It's
So
painful.
it's very painful. It's like not to pull a Hail Mary, but it's like pulling teeth. So like what I would say is if you are someone who loves the editorial process, it's okay to kind of give yourself the carrot of, if you draft a really bad chapter, you can go back and make a previous one a little bit better and
Yeah.
just, make yourself feel a little bit better and then continue sucking.
Yeah. I love that actually because the first draft is really hard to get through and you're also trying to remember all of the things and stuff, but I actually um a guest I've had before, author Kristen Bird has done this where she talks about she writes in rounds. So she doesn't
Hmm.
plot, but she'll draft, go back like maybe 10 chapters, go back, edit, then write forward, then go back and edit the whole thing, and then go back and edit. And I was like, I find that such a fascinating way of doing it because I think that that keeps you like, oh, these are the things, the threads I need to pick up like
Hmm.
down the road, right? Because that's what we
Yeah.
know in mysteries, especially, you have to have these like little threads that sometimes you're planting a seed way back here, but then also as you get further on, you know what seeds to plant way back in. So I think
Yeah.
that's such a fascinating way to do it.
Hmm. I do love that. And maybe
Yeah,
that's what I do without knowing I do, because I
I
edit a
think it
lot
is.
as I go. Because
You plot
again,
as
I
you're
just,
writing.
yeah, I just I hate drafting.
Hmm.
I will do anything to not draft. It's basically what I'm trying to say.
I actually really understand that. Um, okay, what's the best piece of advice you've heard?
But it's funny because the best piece of advice that I've heard is that you can't edit an empty page. So I'm just like a little walking conundrum, like, oh
I'm
my
like, you're
God,
like,
she's
okay, I
such
have to
a
put this
lawyer.
on so I can edit it, but I don't want to do it.
So I think that's kind of the like push and pull of Elizabeth's creative process. You just saw this in real life. Like, don't edit as you go, but like, you can't edit a blank page.
Yeah, then you're like, that's why this is bullshit advice because like I can't not.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to just confirm for everyone is that it is really hard. Okay. Like if it feels like a slog, it's because it is.
It is. It's a
It
slog.
is.
It's hard. It is hard.
It's really hard.
Um, Gavino Iglesias puts this on threads every month, and it's like it takes a certain kind of person to like sit down, and he has like all of this like beautiful language that he says. But I know that there's like you sit down and like cut your heart open and rip your story out of you, and I was like, that's exactly how it feels. It feels
Yeah.
like it's just you're pulling it, and sometimes it like flows really great, but inevitably in any story you're writing, you're gonna get to a hard part,
A
and
hundred percent.
yeah,
A hundred
it's just
percent.
the persistence, like
And I
continuing on.
do think I don't have to tell this to like creative people who write, but particularly for friends or family who saw my picture on Instagram with me like holding up my arc, and they're like, oh wow, and like all this stuff, and I just want to like sit them down and put them under a bare bulb and say, this was so hard.
So
like
hard.
like I don't want anyone to think that this was just
Easy.
lovely and something that I did, particularly because I do have a very involved day job. And so I find sometimes people kind of look at me and my circumstance and think like, oh wow, she A doesn't sleep, or B, this just comes like relatively simply because again, there are so many hours in a day. So
Yeah.
obviously like something's going on. But yeah, like I just want to emphasize that it is really, really difficult. And it is even more difficult if you're balancing it with something else. And for some people, that's work. For other people, that's caregiving responsibilities or family rearing, or, like, or a combination of all of those things. And
Yeah.
so just to kind of give yourself grace, like if it is feeling really hard, it's because it is. That doesn't mean
Yeah.
it's impossible, but it just means that it's really, really hard.
Yeah. If it was easy, everybody would do it, right? And
They
like,
would
what are
all
the
do it.
statistics? Like 89% of people say they want to write a book, and then like you get down to 30% actually do, and then it's like or even less than that, right? Like it's very small percentages or whatever.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think that that is that's really important to keep in mind, that it's hard for everyone. Even when I have authors on that are like prolific, I still hear like, oh yeah, sometimes it's hard. So
Yeah.
okay, what's the darkest idea you've had that has scared you about yourself?
Hmm.
I don't know.
What?
I feel
Well, what?
like I just
When
read
you
some
read it,
that scared me about you.
I do think that, again, we've kind of talked around her, but the other point of view in Hail Mary is probably like the darkest that I've ever gone in terms of sort of creating something from myself that, again, is of no part of me. Like we
Yes,
could not be,
create its
she would
imagination.
not have showed up in this sweater. Okay. Like, no. Um, but I still feel very fondly about her.
Yeah.
She's my favorite sociopath. She's great.
I get it. I get it. She's just so much fun. How many drafts do you usually do before you share your work with anybody?
Well, there are a few people, like very trusted, like writing friends. Actually, there's really only there's three people that I'm thinking of, and they've read some of my work before like anyone should be consuming it, myself included. And I
Yeah.
like to get I think everyone should have those kind of people in their creative circle as mostly a gut check, right? Because you might think that something has potential, but you need someone to say, "Oh, I think it does, but you're writing from the wrong perspective," or
Mhm.
"Have you thought about this?" So, I would say like with the general populace, draft 4,
Okay.
but with those like very trusted people, um far too soon.
It's funny you say that because I actually have a handful of people too that I would send a first draft to, even just like first draft pages and stuff, just like, and I do that same thing, kind of like gut check. Does this feel like whatever? And um, it's been interesting, and especially as like a growing author, as you're learning, seeing your own evolution through their eyes,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, because you can see when they're like, oh yeah, like, your interiority is way better, or you've got I don't know, you see like their comments are less about the same things. Like it's so nice to have the close people that you can share with at that level. I
Yeah.
think it'd be
Yes.
super selective because
Mm-hmm.
everyone's got an opinion.
And that's the thing too, like, and that's why I didn't mean like a few people to be exclusionary. Like that's not
Yeah,
the
yeah,
vibe.
yeah,
Because I do think, getting feedback from, as many people as possible is really valuable. But
yeah.
in those early stages, it can do a lot more harm
It can
than
do a lot
good,
more harm. Hmm.
particularly if you're not confident. And there's like a fine line, right, between being confident and open to feedback and confident and like completely closed off, even though
Right.
you have no right to be that closed
Yeah.
off.
Everyone's met
um,
somebody like that, met a man like that. Let's be honest.
it's typically a man. But what I will say though, just about keeping the circle small is not because people aren't trustworthy or not because people don't have valuable feedback, but just
Yeah.
because you don't want to be in an echo chamber of conflicting feedback.
Yes.
And the more people that you ask, that has a higher tendency of occurring. And that's not helpful as you're trying to find out, even for yourself, what it is that you're trying to do.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And I agree with you because I think that you get into um it's trying to please everybody. Also kind of depending on where you are in your experience level. Early on, there's a tendency to want to please everybody, and over time you learn around about discernment, but it can be very like disconcerting. You have too many cooks in the kitchen, too many voices in your head, and then you're second guessing, like, oh, should I have done this? Like I even had an example of a story that like I had an idea for, I kind of like hallway pitched it to somebody, and they're like, oh, but then you could do this and you could do this. And then when I went to go write it, I was like, oh, I should do that thing, but it wasn't the authentic
mhm.
story, right? So I think that it's a lot around trying to learn what you want to take in and who you feel like you want to take that in from,
Yeah.
right?
And it does take a long time to sort of figure that out for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it
So,
definitely
yeah,
does.
just find your people, hold them really close, make sure the group chat is alive and well, and just share your thoughts with them.
It's important to have those group thoughts, especially or group chats, especially when it's like, oh my God, I'm gonna throw this book
Yes.
across the room.
Yes,
So
yes.
mad.
Like find your people, cheer each other on, and
Yeah.
just keep cheering because everyone's gonna make it one day at their own pace, right?
Yes.
You just
There's
the
room for
only
everybody.
time it doesn't happen is if you give up. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So what is your old school favorite mystery or thriller?
Mm. I have to say Nancy Drew. Like
Oh
I'm
my God,
sorry.
yes. Yes.
I have them on my bottom shelf, like all of my mom's Nancy Drew
Oh my
books,
gosh.
like all of the hardcovers. And I just remember like reading those when I was younger and just being like beside myself at how absolutely cool that
She's
was.
so cool. She's so cool.
She's
I don't
so
remember
cool.
which of the stories it is, but I very distinctly remember a Nancy Drew story, and it could be when she was like one of the like revamped versions of it. But she's like in a locker room at a club or something like this, and then the somebody starts the shower and puts it on high, and so she's like she can't get out of the room that it's in where the shower is
Mm.
at, and it's like a whole. It was I remember so distinctly remembering that like tense she's gonna burn and can't
Yeah,
breathe in there. And I think that I've just been chasing that feeling the
yeah.
rest of my life.
I think that they're so good. And I feel like I'm not making this up. Is it next year or the year after? There is a book coming out called Nancy. I
Oh,
remember seeing a pitch for this like in Publishers Marketplace. So I think
okay,
don't quote me on this because I might be
okay,
wrong. Part of this is accurate. There's a book called Nancy where it's basically Nancy Drew, older,
yeah,
solving like a crime like in her neighborhood.
yeah, I love
And
it.
I'm just like, I need it. I
Yeah,
need
of
it right
course.
now.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna read that immediately. I hope that the
Yeah.
crimes get darker.
I hope so as well. More
We
blood.
can't be like in Murder She Wrote level forever.
No, we need to escalate. There needs to be some kind of escalation.
Come on, Nancy.
Um,
It's 2026. Like
yeah,
let's
yeah.
get a little bit darker.
But yeah, Nancy Drew for sure. Final
Yeah,
answer.
love it. I love it. That's a fantastic answer. All right, Elizabeth, it's been so nice talking to you. Where can people find you?
I am mostly on Instagram. You can follow me at Urso. And yeah, feel free to reach out. I'm excited to hear what people think about all the teeth.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I think definitely make sure that if you check out Hail Mary, it's going to be out September 22nd in Canada and in the US. So I highly recommend it as far as horror novels go. Like I've been loving it. So intriguing. These characters are batshit. So, and if you have a fear of teeth, like this is so your jam. So,
Yes.
um, in the meantime, if you want to reach out to me, you can find me on Instagram at Sabrina Thatcher Author, or if you want to know more about my book coaching services, you can find that at crimeandquill.com. Until next time, friends, stay sharp and